Hey, so today we're going to talk about MIDI Loopback. MIDI Loopback is one of those beautiful little Easter eggs that Elektron left us. So today I wanted to talk about what is MIDI Loopback, why we might want to do something like that with our box, and then just run you through the process of doing that and show you how exactly you get that done in your box. So let's jump in. So a quick little bit of the cable spaghetti. The MIDI cable comes out of the back of the Digitone and runs back into the MIDI in of the Digitone. The Digitone audio is just going out of the direct outs into the Model 12, and the bass is being handled by the Minotaur. And then in our session on Ableton, I've just got some pre-programmed things in the beat. So what exactly is MIDI Loopback? MIDI Loopback is the idea of plugging the MIDI out of your device into the MIDI in and controlling the device's MIDI implementations with the MIDI data that you're sending from that exact box itself. So basically think of it like you're using the Digitone to send itself a bunch of messages that control these parameters. Quite often the system UI limits our controls for certain things, but when you go deeper, each value and each parameter is controllable by sending CC values of 0 to 127 over MIDI. Here's the MIDI implementation list. I'm going to pop it in the comments section down below. The cool thing about MIDI Loopback is you don't need to have another device to control these MIDI implementations. You can use your own box to do it. Why this is really cool on Elektron boxes is because you have the ability to turn on and off certain parts of the transport, the clock sync, and the program changes, so that when you send these pieces of information over, the network doesn't glitch out. Alright, so in order to get started, we're going to go to our settings page, we're going to find MIDI config, and we're going to go to sync. We don't want our clock receive or send, transport receive or send, or program change receive or send to be on in this instance, because all that's going to do is send information and receive it in this massive loop and potentially just glitch your instrument out. The other thing we're going to want to do is go out of here and head to our port config, and we're going to make sure that we're receiving CC and NRPN messages. Alright, that's really important because sometimes it isn't selected by default. I've just got my standard patch, it's one that I made. Alright, and now I want to program some macros for an LFO to control. Alright, so I'm going to head to the mod wheel page. Here we can see our macros. Now, I kind of like the macro modulation because you can control 4 parameters at once. So I'm going to focus today on amp programming. So first one I'm going to try and program, I'm just going to go down to my amplitude page and I'll just go chorus send. Alright, I'll go over to number 2 and this time I'll just control the release time. Next one I'm going to send is going to be amp volume. And last but not least, I'm going to control an effect. Let's go reverb send. Alright, cool. I'm going to increase them, so when this moves up, it's going to increase the effect, and when it comes back down, it's going to shrink back in on the normal effect. I might decrease the amp volume. Cool, I like that. I think that could be pretty cool when it's affected. So just a quick little rundown of what's going on inside Ableton. Just to give you a little bit of a behind the sequence. I've got my drums here. And we've got some bass that accompanies it. Being handled by the Mini Tool, which we can handle the filters. So why would we want to use MIDI Loopback? Well, there's a couple of reasons why we want to use MIDI Loopback, but I think the biggest one is to gain an extra LFO. We only have 2 LFOs on the Digitone standard, so 3 LFOs, although that is a lot of LFOs, you might really want to do some complex modulation there. And so having the ability to just have 8 LFOs going is, I think, really, really epic. So yeah, reason number 1 would be you can gain an extra LFO. Another reason why we might want to use MIDI Loopback is to gain access to some really interesting modulation techniques. For example, there are a lot of things on the implementation chart that aren't available on the regular LFOs. Things like decay time, delay time. So you can really mess around with some things that are, I think, quite unique to the sound palette of the Digitone, and just have the ability to mess with them and change them with an LFO, which can create really awesome rhythmic modulations in your music. Alright, now in order to start programming our MIDI Loopback, when we head over here to our MIDI config, we can see channels. Alright, remember that our FX control channel is number 9, and I've just chosen number 3 for each track channel. So in order to start sending our MIDI Loopback, we're going to go to MIDI. Here we have our channel. We bop the button. I'm going to channel 3, and I want to affect the mod wheel, which is controlling our macros. I'm going to go over here to my amp page, and you can see here I've got all my CC channels, alright? So I go down to number 1, which is mod wheel. That's going to make this move up and down with the LFO. Now I'm going to go over and select my value, because while I'm changing those CCs, I don't want my value to be open. Alright? So I select that. Alright? And I'm going to put it at 64. Now I can go to my LFO page and start programming my LFO. So I'm just going to get it on CC value number 1. I'm just going to put some depth on it. It's just a sine wave, nothing fancy. And I think I'll try and use quite a slow one. So now we want to hear the LFO running and working. Well, we need a way to trigger it, alright? In order to hear our LFO working, we need to go to our record page, hold function, and hit the trig, which pulls up a trigless trig. I hold on to that and I select my LFO start. So now when I hit play, the LFO will begin. The way we can check that is if we get out of our MIDI, we head to our modulation page, and you can see it's increasing and decreasing. So it's pretty simple. The playhead has to be running, obviously, because how can the LFO run without the playhead running? Let's go over to our MIDI page again and we'll program another LFO. So now I'm going to program an effects parameter using MIDI channel number 9 like I showed you. So if I go over here to my channels, I just bop that button, head over to channel number 9, that's my FX channel. Remember, we don't want to go into our values yet. We want to head over to our amp page, and here I have all of my values. I'm going to go to number 29 because that's where my master overdrive lives. So that's going to control the master overdrive for the whole track. I'm going to start the value at 0 because I want it to increase from there, and I don't want it to be really massive, so I'm going to just do a really soft LFO. Alright, I'm going to make it random. I'm going to put it on half, and I'm just going to do it really soft, really slow. I'll select my CC value number 1 because that's where my overdrive is living, and I'm just going to put it really shallow. Alright, I'm going to hit record, hold down function and drop a trigless trig, head over to my triggers and just make sure that it's selected. So when I press play, if I get out of this, you can see my overdrive is moving ever so slightly. So it's probably not really deep enough. I'm going to increase it a little bit. So yeah, that looks to me like it's a little bit better. The last thing I'm going to program is another effect send. I'm going to choose to program the reverb decay because I think it can be really interesting to increase that a lot. So I'm going to go to my MIDI track number 4. I head over to my channels. I'm going to go back to my channel number 9. I'm going to head to my CC messages, select 74 because that's where my reverb decay lives, on channel number 74. Now I'm going to mess with my value. I want it to be pretty high because it's already quite high. So I want the lower limit to be pretty much where it is and increase to infinite from there pretty much. Okay? Head over to the LFO. I'm going to select again CC value number 1 because that's where it's living. And I'm going to go random again. I want it to be quite slow. And I want it to be quite deep. I'm going to lay down a functional trigger. With my trigless trig, I'm going to make sure the LFO is enabled when I play. So now how we can check that all that's playing other than listening to it is I'm going to hit play and I'm going to make sure that my overdrive is being modulated, that my reverb decay is being modulated, and that my modulation macros are also being modulated all at the same time. You can see my trigs on each channel and my different LFOs and their values. I'm going to hit play. We can see my modulation metrics moving. My overdrive metric is moving. And my reverb decay. And I actually really think it's amazing that we can see those visualizations as well. I really like that part, that they allowed us to see the visualizations on the screen. I think that's really awesome.